I'm going to present this material in more of a storytelling way with some media as well in it, which is slightly different. A little bit about myself, first of all. I joined IBM about 7 years ago, and I'm a leader in IBM. I run a substantial business with about 80 people working for me in Australia and New Zealand, and it's in a very exciting area, which is around social business. I was expelled from school when I was 14. I've worked in an accounting firm down the road here. I've done many things in my life, but there's a very exciting time upon us. I'm a father of 3 children, and I feel quite old at times when I'm around people who are involved in the new youthful ways of doing business. And I'm going to weave this into leadership and how important it is to understand the market at the moment and the way innovation is leading things. Stephen and James have invested with us around the Queensland leaders, and you'll be experiencing some of the technologies that IBM is using. IBM, to put some perspective on it, has got 400,000 people globally. It's a lot of people, a lot of locations, and we've got about 18,000 people here in Australia. So managing a business with that, as a leader with that level of volume of talent and resource required a lot of know-how. So internally in IBM we developed a system where we can measure the capabilities of all our staff and find resources where applicable for particular customer needs. Many of you here, I'm sure, are customers of IBM, and I've noted some of the names. And we have the ability to pull in our resources from our business around the world. So what are we going to cover? I'm going to talk a little bit about social business. It's not a plaything. It was originally, but it's not anymore. It's a serious, serious business opportunity. Talk about the social characteristics around leadership of a social business, and then a few stories and findings of mine along the road. But first, a few questions for you. These are not polling questions, so sorry to confuse you. But anyone here who says they've opted out of social business, if you answer yes to any of these questions, you unfortunately are already involved at some level in social. Now there's a big security issue as well. A lot of the things you'll see on here, you know, the data is not your own. And with Stephen and James, in their endeavours with our software, that information is safe and locked down and not out on the World Wide Web for someone to run a marketing campaign over and spam you. So the first question I have is, you all read in the papers, many organisations who are very vulnerable. Employee says something about the company on their own Facebook page, that gets trawled and found out, and things are leaked. In IBM, we have a business conduct guideline where we, every year, all our staff have to certify in an exam on how to conduct themselves internally with social media and externally. So my first question is, do you have a social media business policy around the conduct of your staff? It's pretty simple questions. Please. Uh-oh. So I think you want to write that one down. So risk, I'll talk about it a bit later. You know, I was sitting in the Qantas Club. I do a lot of travel. And someone was saying to me, you know, what do you do for a living? This individual, I'm a CEO of a company, a very well-known company. He said, oh, this social business stuff, we've opted out. No way. It's not, there's no value in it. It's useless. So that's an interesting point of view. So I had my iPad with me, as many people have mobile devices, and I Googled his name, his company, and it was smeared all over Facebook pages with problems, product you know, response times, service industry issues. You know, don't buy from this guy. He's, you know, the whole, and he was blown away. But he'd opted out. Now, you'll need to be quiet because the sound is not great on this. I wanted to put into perspective this short video, which has got a lot of information in it, but it's pretty, when you see it, you'll understand. A lot of information there, some statistics which are trivial and not interesting to some people, but you know, if you were to come out of prison after 20 years of being isolated and come out and see this, you'd say, I want to go back into prison. Topical today. All right. So in that 60 seconds, just to put some perspective on this again, this is a bit mind-blowing, and this is just, if you look at the statistics here, in that time there was probably close to 100,000 tweets, that time they showed that video, have gone out on Twitter. You know, the amount of volume of information that's flowing around, and I can guarantee you that one of your family or relatives or friends has done one of those statistics, added to that in the last minute or two. Children, you know, and your business, and the way people search. So you need to be aware, and as leaders, there is an opportunity within this. So, it's really, any of you here rely on customers? Do you all rely on customers? Customers, gosh, they're not the customers they were 10 years ago. They're a smarter bunch of people. They will research your company. They'll research your product. They will slander you. Nothing you can do about it on the internet. You have to make decisions about how you engage with these customers. You know, if you have a wrath of an unhappy customer today, it's not a rant on the phone. It could be something that could really destroy your brand and your image. And you know, there was a classic case about a year ago in the UK, a very well-known celebrity who had 40,000 people following him on Twitter, went into a TV store, bought a television, brought it home, plugged it in, wouldn't work. Got on Twitter, these bastards, this thing doesn't work. All of a sudden, thousands of people are retweeting it, the product was being slammed, and luckily the product vendor had a social presence, saw the issue, drove over to the guy's house, fixed the TV, he retweeted what a brilliant service it was. And they turned a disaster into an absolute boom for their company. The product went through the roof, out of stock. So you know, you better deal with things and you've got to be able to understand. But the customers today are so much smarter. And as it said in the slide there a minute ago, you know, 90% of consumers trust the recommendations of other people they know. And 70% trust people they don't know. Don't revise your marketing budgets, advertising budgets. So, another question. Do you have the ability, in the event of somebody being unhappy with your company and smearing you, you know, public disaster for your company, do you know how to manage it? Please, there's two answers. Two questions, please. Slightly less than the 70% of the previous question. But I suggest you sit down and you try and work out, at least if you understand that you can tackle it. It's clear there's probably a lack of understanding here. Some of you are in retail and that business is a... So what are the characteristics of a social business and the leader? I'm going to show you a video in a moment of my boss and general manager of IBM Australia. I mentioned to you earlier on, IBM has a very large workforce. Ginny Remiti, Sam Parmesan was the previous head of the business. 1st of January, Ginny Remiti, our lady CEO, took the reins. And internally, we have a product which is called Connections, which is what Stephen and James have procured, which allows, you know, the community of IBM to work together and find talent and talk to each other. Similar to, you mentioned LinkedIn and Facebook, but nothing unsecure like that. So Ginny posted a video of herself, a video blog. And she's in her 50s. She's that ex-gen. And 100,000 people watched it the first day. And that cameo video was her not reading an email, sending it out to you. It was an authentic video of her. Andrew came back from this trip to America, and he took the reins last year over from Glenboreham. And Andrew said, James, I need help. I want to do what Ginny does. I want to empower the person who cleans the floor to the person who reports to me directly and our customers to understand the message of our business. And I want to do it in an authentic way like Ginny did. So the things that he wants to do and things that he's doing, he's aligning the goals and the culture through social. Not by sending people newsletters and things to read, which people don't read. He's gaining friends and trust, and you'll see what his video in a minute, which he's given us today, shows how he's done that. And he's engaged. And he's engaged in a way which my little kids are playing with my iPad, you know, that they're engaging differently, that they have a different way of doing it. And those future people are the future leaders. We talked earlier about nurturing those people and bringing them through. It's a great way to talk to people of a different generation, to some of the people in the room here. I'm not that old, but 43. And mobility. Everybody here, thanks for having your phone switched off, but all of this can be done on a phone. Somebody said to me, we've barred Facebook in the organisation. I said, good luck with that. Take your phone out, there's the app. You know. And it mentioned that question, it's concerning for me to see you guys having a 60-70% fear of risk reputation management. You need to look at that. And the ability then to manage social media and look for sentiment. A friend of mine in America has just started a company, and he monitors Twitter, and he can find out from the sentiment on Twitter when things are going to happen, predictively. He says if the Twitter volume goes up, he knows there's going to be a war in Syria, or it's going to be an earthquake, or disaster management. And there's actually things you can do to manage or analyze the data. So you need to be able to understand what the people are saying about you and turn that around as well. So this is Andrew's video. I'll get this to work. Hopefully the volume is going to be right.
All my buddies on IMVT9, I think it's a great thing that you're doing. I was on IMVT4, so I know exactly what you're feeling at this, probably the start of your journey, but all the best. Social media, how do I use it and incorporate it into my day-to-day job and activity? Basically, this is the primary means by which I'm communicating with our folks now. I find that it's interesting, it encourages people to look, and also, most importantly, it gives you the opportunity to bring some emotion and some feeling into the discussion. Email or all other methods are very, very difficult. So that's how I do it. It's the primary channel, and I must say a lot of CEOs that I've mentioned it to are very interested as well in this as a plus. So that's how I use it. The second thing is benefits. In terms of benefits, quite frankly, the most enjoyable one is the irritation it provides to IBM communications people, because they don't like the fact that it's so real, it's so candid, it's spontaneous, they're nervous about it, they don't like the control. But seriously, the people have really said, in fact I got an email from one 35-year IBMer who said, in all my 35 years I've never understood as clearly and as in a timely fashion what really matters to the CEO of or Managing Director of IBM ANZ, and to me that's it. You know, I've got graduates who love it, I've got 35-year veterans who love it, and that's the benefit. I've had, now I've got 10% of the IBM ANZ population in my community, and we've only been going 5 weeks, so we've done nothing, nothing to force people, we have encouraged people to go there, but that's the benefit. Connection, emotion, spontaneity, and unscripted and real. It's a real plus. In terms of downsides, I must say I haven't found too many. In fact, I don't think I've found any yet. The joy, I'm recording this on iPhone 4S, and I must say the benefit of having the iPhone is in your pocket, and whether you've just gone to a great meeting, you've had it been presented with an award, you've had some amazing insight, just the spontaneity of it, and the ability just to convey how you're feeling in that moment makes a big difference, because it sort of explains the why and the how rather than the what and the when, and I think that pretty much sums it up. This is a real plus, and again, I think what you guys are doing is great. I just look forward to seeing the findings and adopting them as fast as possible.
So Andrew was talking there to a group of people in a particular business unit that he was trying to motivate, and he has used this method. So out of the 18,000 people in Australia, he originally started off with about 50 or 60 people following from my brand, and now he mentioned there, he probably got about 25% of the organisation watching him. So he blogs daily. He says, I met with Peter Garrett today. We talked about Smarter Planet, we talked about education, we talked about this, and all the employees understand the message of the company in a video blog. Very powerful, and engages people from different generations. IBM has done a lot of work on this. It's not something we just came up with overnight. So we did a CEO study. Some of you might have been invited by some of the IBM team here in Brisbane to partake in studies where we ask you a series of questions to try and get sentiment and feedback on the market opportunity. But what we've seen is that CEOs create more economic value, and leaders as CEOs, by cultivating new connections within and across 3 domains. Now, a lot of this is on the internet, and I'm mindful of time here today, running over. But the main 3 areas are empowering employees through the values. And this empowerment of openness allows them to engage better with the colleagues. And when you're social inside in your organization, then you can understand how it works externally. Follow people who are customers of yours on Twitter, LinkedIn, engage them, research companies before you go out and get your sales teams involved. And that engagement drives a culture of collaboration and working with the customer. And that then amplifies the partnerships. So just your competitive companies, you can understand their advantage, take advantage of those things. But CEOs today have a propensity to look about 16%, but in the next 5 years, we're seeing that multiplying by about 3. CEOs will engage in that way, and the leaders see the value. McKinsey's did a study recently, and they said that companies that use social tools are more likely to grow than companies that opt out. So why is it important? This is a study that we've done again, IBM research. The decisions that people make, 42% of people use the wrong data every week. So finding people, as I mentioned earlier on, if I wanted to find a left-handed, dyslexic, Irish-speaking, English-speaking person who's worked in accounting, person who's involved in social business in IBM, I can put that detail in, it'll pop up the photograph of myself. How many people have Googled themselves here recently? So, you know, the right information, getting the right things quickly, wasting time, and there's a big, obviously a hobby horse in Australia, many parts of the world about productivity, wasted time. We have seen that the amount of wasted time and average effort is about 18%, and you know what, if you could 18% of your wage bill, it's a lot of money. So I'll move through in the interest of time. All of this is available afterwards if you wish to have a read of it. So the drive for growth and operational efficiency, we've done many studies. On the left, you'll see the vertical is the effectiveness and then future importance. There's 3 key things we discovered. Developing the workforce skills and capabilities, and the previous speaker talked about that. Nurturing, developing those skills, very important, and can be done through social. And then fostering that collaboration and knowledge in your organization and then pushing it out. And from that, you'll find the true leaders. They'll come forward. You'll see them. I'm going to finish on this video. If you ever listen to political advertisements on the radio, they always say terms and conditions, whatever they say, spoken by. This is a video that's available on the internet. And there's nobody in this video, I believe, is in the room. I believe. But at the end of it, maybe you might say differently. But the point of this is, it's a little canny, but it just talks about how leadership is such a simple thing in many ways.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, Remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Yeah, there might be some chemicals there. But on a light note, thank you very much for listening to me. I'm conscious of time and the other presenters after me. I could stand here for hours and give you examples of roundside, fireside conversations I've had with CEOs, HR, marketing. This is not necessarily an IT thing as well. Don't throw this at the IT department. No disrespect. Social is not an IT thing. It's mistaken sometimes and it gets into a different quagmire. But the conversations that I have, I'll be here afterwards for a while to talk if you wish. My details are there through the guys here. Really appreciate. You'll be using this technology in the next couple of weeks. And you'll see the power of the ability to collaborate as leaders. Maybe you might start dancing. Thank you very much. Thank you.